Go right to the great Dennis Prager, host of the Dennis Prager Show, founder of PragerU, author of The Rational Bible. Now a few editions. Please buy all of them. Mr. Prager, how are you, sir?
Thanks for having me.
What is the special connection between Jews and Israel, Christians and Israel, and America and Israel?
The Exodus story, which is the central story of the Hebrew Bible, there are two pillars of the Jewish faith, creation and Exodus. And just as for Christians, it's the crucifixion and the resurrection, for Jews, it's creation and Exodus. God takes the Jews, the Hebrews, Israelites, whatever term you wish to use, out of Egypt to bring them into a land and there to practice a faith that will hopefully be a moral light to the nations, as Isaiah put it. The whole story revolves around Israel. There have been only two and now three independent sovereign states in that area of the world, in what the Romans decided to call Palestine, so as to de-Judaize the area that had been known as Judea. And those three states have all been Jewish states. There has never been an Arab state. There has never been a Muslim state. There has never been any state other than Jewish. And there have been three of them. One was destroyed in 586 BC, one in 70 AD, and one was created in 1948 AD. And that's the modern state of Israel. The indigenous people to the area, since people are into indigenous people, are the Jews. The only people who lived there before that are not around any longer: Canaanites, Gilgamites, and the like. So it all centers around Israel. In fact, Muhammad prayed toward Jerusalem until the Jews did not accept him as a prophet, and then it was toward Mecca.
Okay, Mr. Prager, what is the special relationship between Christians and Israel?
Right. Excellent. I was coming to that. So remember, 2/3 of the Christian Bible is the Old Testament. The Old Testament revolves around Israel, and Israel is therefore central to Christianity. That is the Holy Land, not just to Jews. It is the Holy Land to Christians. And certainly, obviously, those where Jesus was, where he preached, and where he was crucified, and where he was resurrected. The whole story takes place in Israel. Bethlehem is in Israel. So it's, of course, central to Christianity. As regards the United States of America, it is not even well known to Americans, but many of the founders of the United States regarded the United States as the second Israel, not as a replacement of the first Israel. It's very important, but as the second Israel. The Jews were chosen, and we're the second chosen people. We're the second Israel. Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson designed a great seal for the United States of America, and that seal depicted the Jews leaving Egypt. And those were the least religious of the founders. That was Franklin and Jefferson. So this has all been central. As America abandons its dominant religion, which is Christianity, and I say this as a Jew, as a practicing Jew, as it abandons that, the centrality of the Jews and of Israel begins to dissipate. And we're seeing that happening.
What is the Abrahamic covenant in Genesis 12, and does that matter today and in this situation at all?
Well, we have now you're not referring to the Abraham Accords, the covenant between God and Abraham. Is that what you're referring to?
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yes. Well, that's the beginning of the Jewish people, is the covenant between God and Abraham. Abraham is the first monotheist and the father of the Jewish people. Through Isaac, then Jacob, and Jacob gets his name changed to Israel. Israel means struggle with God, it's a wonderful lesson that humans are allowed to struggle with God. God is okay with that. We're allowed to get angry with God. And there's a lot of theology there.
What about the rest of the Genesis 12 there where it talks about those who bless Israel will be blessed, those whose curse will be cursed? What do you make of that in today's world?
Oh, it's actually literally accurate. You can be an atheist and realize that that is true. I wrote a column on this. It's on the internet. That is exactly what has happened. Spain was one of the great world powers, and then it kicked out its Jews in 1492, and we haven't heard from Spain, in 500 years. And Germany, of course, cursed the Jews. Germany was then divided. Vast numbers of Germans suffered horribly as a result of it. Germany no German could argue that Germany prospered as a result of its hatred of Jews. It became a curse for the German people. They were divided from 1945 to 1989, and they, as I said, they lost so many people because they bought into the Nazi anti-Semitism. And the United States has been the most blessed country in the world for quite some time, and it is the country that has most blessed its Jews. So whether one likes this or not, whether one even agrees with the theology, it turns out to be a fact. And by the way, the Arab world has cursed the Jews in the modern period, and it's in terrible shape.
Yep.
And Iran curses the Jews, and its own people are suffering under the people who curse the Jews, the regime under which they suffer. So as I said, you can be an atheist and understand that those who bless the Jews are blessed, and those who curse the Jews are cursed.
Yep, another example of the Bible being true. My last question for you, Mr. Prager. What does Judaism say about war? And I ask this because there's a difficult scripture for many people in 1 Samuel telling King Saul to go kill all the Amalek and everything. Man, woman, child, infant, camel, donkey, the whole thing. And then God was angry that Saul didn't do it. What do you mean?
Well, there's nothing to be learned from incidents that are sui generis, that are unique. There is no prescription in the Bible. When you go to war, you will destroy all the inhabitants of the place that you go to war. There is no such principle. So I can't comment on 2,000 years ago or 2,500 years ago, the command to wipe out Amalekites. Because it's unique. It's like, do we learn from the Bible that we should kill the firstborn of an enemy? Of course not. God did it for a certain purpose. Only God knows why. I mean, we know why. It was to get the Jews out of Egypt, but why he chose that means is the 10th plague. So as a principle, you only have wars of defense.